Welcome back to the Trading Mindset Mastery podcast. Today, I've got a very great friend, Rodrigo, on the podcast. I'm incredibly excited to introduce him in a second and get him to dive deep into his journey and share some insights with you guys. But before we got into that, I really want to recap the mission of this podcast. It's to bring on board people who are doing really great things in the industry. So I can ask, I guess, probing questions to extract out of their heads some insights to help you guys and girls on your trading journeys or in your life journeys on all things mindset, routines, and that type of stuff. And I'm incredibly excited for this podcast. We're going to dive deep into a lot of questions on funding and those types of things, which I know a lot of you guys and girls have goals on. So if you get value from this particular podcast, make sure you like it and drop a comment below on what your biggest takeaway was. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce Rodrigo. Again, Rodrigo is a great friend. He's a funded trader, and he's also the performance coach at CTI, City Traders Imperium, the prop firm out in UK. And Rodrigo kindly joined us on a bit of a family holiday in Portugal, which we're going to talk about shortly. But thank you so much for coming on board, Rodrigo. It's awesome to have you here. And it'd be great if you could give a little bit of an introduction about yourself, your trading journey, and all that type of stuff.
Thank you, Pat. Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation. It's really good pleasure to be able to talk to you, talk to your audience about trading. As you said, I'm a performance coach for CTI, and one thing that I focus immensely on is the mindset aspect of things. And I guess this started when I've always had an interest in human behavior, and my interest was started like straight after college, after my A levels, which is what we do here in the UK. I done a psychology degree, and in that degree, what I enjoyed the most was social psychology, the aspect of human behavior, why people act the way they do. And so when I finished the university, I went straight into in fact it wasn't psychology, because I realized when I was doing my degree, if I wanted to continue psychology, I would have had to do a master's degree. And I didn't really, the part that I didn't like about psychology, the degree itself, was the research aspect. There was just a lot of all of these type of questionnaires, and I wasn't really too interested in that. What I wanted to do is actually work with people on a face-to-face basis. And so NLP also piqued my interest. And so what I did was I went into sales and marketing, and I ended up doing that for about 10 years. And that was really good experience from the point of view of gaining that interactive experience, and then just seeing how, like, the power of persuasion, for example. But then it wasn't my passion. It just felt like, I guess I was in the rat race. It was the typical. It wasn't even 9 to 5. It was literally 10 hours a day, 7 days a week sometimes, because obviously you're working for commission, and it's very competitive. So um, yeah, so that when I was doing that, I was also doing. I was also trying to figure out how I can achieve financial freedom, how I can be my own boss. And so that's when my cousin, who's also a trader, he started trading. He started learning how to do it, and then he told me all about it. And I was really interested, because by then I had already a few failed businesses, and I was still working full time. And so the what piqued my interest was that being a trader, you can actually work from anywhere, and as long as you obviously got enough capital, and if you do it right, you can achieve huge freedom. So yeah, that's what got me into trading, and that's what still interests me today. It's just that the human aspect, the behavior aspect of how market participants are reacting to different market conditions, and how I react to those market conditions, and how I respond to those, to, I guess, the sentiment of the market. And that's what I do, and that's what I love to do for myself, and also from the coaching aspect. I like to work with other traders and see how they respond to the different market conditions to their own performance, because I guess trading is like a labyrinth, and you need to always kind of figure your way through it.
Mhm.
But as long as you got the right mindset and the right skill set and the tools and know how to use those tools, you can actually achieve pretty good success with trading, and that's, I guess, is the journey that I enjoy the most.
Love that. And just a curiosity here, because I know there'll be a lot of traders out there listening, resonating with that. How did you go from curiosity of wanting to be a trader to now being a funded trader? What would you say were the initial steps that got you, I guess, on track of starting to trade and, you know, starting to first get into the markets? What's that? Because it's a little bit of an icebreaker. It can be quite intimidating at times. How did you really start your trading journey? What were the first steps in there? What were the resources you used? And also now, with your knowledge now, what would you encourage traders who just have that curiosity, who aren't trading yet? What would you encourage them to do to get started?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it's so important because I feel as if when I decided to become a trader, I at the time I burnt all my bridges. I had that attitude, and it didn't come from myself. In fact, I when I was working during that 10-year period in just working my ass off in the rat race, getting told what to do, and it was just so frustrating having to ask for permission for everything, holidays, lunch breaks, all of that. I wanted to get out of that, and so when I discovered trading, I realized, right, this is what I'm gonna do. And I was actually going through a lot of stress and anxiety at the time, and I was just blowing it off every weekend. So I was going crazy on the weekends. I was literally averaging probably 4 or 5 hours sleep in a 3-day period. I would get to the office on a Monday dead because I'll just be trying to escape from my life and just go and party. That
Mm-hmm.
superficial happiness is just, it gets to you and it's exhausting. And so I realized that actually, you know what, I am stressed out. I feel anxiety. And so I've realized, no, this is not the life for me. It's good money, but it's just not freedom. So I started then researching about how to get rid of my anxiety. And so I discovered meditation. I started reading and watching videos of Tony Robbins. I started reading books like Napoleon Hill, How to Get Rich. Um, I started reading books about with Robert Kiyosaki on Rich Dad Poor Dad. I started working on myself, self-development, educating myself on personal finance, and really kind of taking that route. I guess what entrepreneur that the sort of route that most entrepreneurs take in terms of that self-education at first.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that I've got an immense amount of ambition and potential, uh, and so then that's when I started looking. So then I started applying some of the concepts and processes of being an entrepreneur into trading. So I realized, I think I just remember Tony Robbins. His voice is always in the back of my mind when, and he, it says like, if you want to achieve something, if you really want something, you need to be prepared to burn your bridges. You need to be prepared to go all in or nothing, and that's what I done. I realized, I said, that's it. There is nothing in this world that I'm gonna do except to be a trader, and I'm not gonna stop until that happens. And so I literally started burning my bridges. I literally started cutting out people in my life that were not good for me, that were not going to encourage me to be a trader. The people that were calling me every weekend or Thursday or Friday to go and party, to go this, all the dates that I was going on, I cut off all the women out of my life. It was literally just, I realized that there was just one girl that really understood what I was trying to do, and she was just there for me. And so I was fortunate enough to move in with her because she had her own apartment, and I literally quit my job, everything. Um, in fact, I didn't even really quit. It was more, I got sacked because I just wasn't motivated in that job anymore. But it was the best thing ever. It was because it allowed me to realize, you know what, I need to go full in with this trading. And so for about a year or a year and a half, I was literally spending 10 hours, 12 hours sometimes on the charts, on the screens, just studying, just back testing, just journaling, and working on myself, exercising, meditation, just really building that routine for about a year and a half straight. And obviously, during that period, it was hard. I didn't succeed straight away. I was making all your typical mistakes, and when you put that type of pressure on yourself at the beginning, it's really difficult because obviously I wasn't uh, I wasn't generating an income from anywhere else. I was literally just had a cash buffer that I had.
Mhm.
Obviously, my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now, um, she she was obviously working, but at the end of the day, as a man, as a man, you kind of feel like you want to contribute in some way, and so you put this pressure on yourself that you have to earn, that you have to do something, that you want to spoil your spouse or your other half. You want to provide for your family, and so you put this pressure on yourself, and that actually has a counter effect on your process, on your progress.
Mhm.
And so it was a really it was a roller coaster. In the end, I didn't really make any money during that first year and a half. In fact, I lost money, but I knew that from all the books I was reading, everything that I was studying, it was telling me that those losses were actually lessons. And if it wasn't for that period when I literally burnt my bridges and I was so focused, I wouldn't be the trader that I am today. So I think if traders are starting off, they need to be prepared to burn all their bridges, cut out any people out of their life that are just going to distract them, cut out all distractions. I literally removed myself from Facebook. I was literally just 100% on the charts, and I didn't actually take any courses or anything like that, which I kind of regret, because it would have speeded up the process if I
Mhm.
would have hooked up with a mentor that knew what they were doing. I realized that years later,
Mhm.
but in the end, those lessons were still valuable for me.
Mhm. Of course, well, they got you to where you are now, right? So my biggest takeaway from that is the working on yourself. I think that's something that a lot of traders neglect. They're always constantly looking externally for the solutions, and then what they don't realize is all the solutions and all the source of their problems as well is internal. So I really like that, the highlighting of focusing on yourself, developing yourself, is one of the key things you did. Now you're on holiday in Portugal, as we can all see on your cap, and there's traders out there who love the whole idea of the laptop lifestyle and traveling and trading. Just really quickly, Rodrigo, do you have any quick fire tips, 1, 2, or 3 tips on what you would recommend traders who are about to travel, what to do, what to have with them, any things to keep in mind when you're trading and traveling?
Right. So, firstly, there's different types of travel that you can do as a trader. There's the travel where you actually want to continue your trading, and so you want to go somewhere and settle. You want to have at least more than you want to have at least a month, 2 to 3 months, or at least the first 2 weeks just to settle into the new environment, the new culture, and the new routine, if you're going to trade. But I personally, I took this trip, this family holiday, because I actually felt a little bit burnt out this year. I had my best performing quarter in my trading career at the start of the year, and that was due to the crypto bull run,
Mhm.
where I saw the perfect storm. I saw like the perfect cocktail of fundamentals and technicals coming together, and I literally put all my eggs in one. I put all my eggs in different altcoins, and it paid off. And so when that happened, on top of the fact that I was the project lead for 7 different projects with CTI throughout this whole year during Q1, Q2. Um, and those projects were very successful as well. I guess I was at my most peak performance state that I've ever been, and it's all of the years of hard work, of self development. Okay, and so I felt quite burnt out. And so this travel that I'm doing, I decided that I'm going to switch off. I'm not going to be leading any more projects during this time because they all completed successfully. And with my trading, my performance in Q1 alone was phenomenal. I don't really have to actually trade for the rest of the year from my personal account, not the funding, because can't trade crypto with the funded accounts. But with my personal, I literally, it was just an amazing quarter. And so I felt that I need this because I'm a great believer in resetting yourself and recalibrating yourself from a spiritual point, from a physical point, and of course from a mental point. And that's exactly what I've been doing. That's why I'm here.
Awesome. So you're taking the time to relax and stay away from the charts and recoup. What do you use this time to do? Just to completely recover? Do you set goals? Do you refocus, recalibrate? What does it look like for you?
The main thing is the one, well, a couple of things. It's mostly the physical aspect of it. So what I put in, so the nutrition that I put in my body, and also the exercise that I do, and most importantly, number one thing is surrounding myself with nature. So I'm I don't know if if you've heard of the concept of grounding. So for example, for the traders that don't know, grounding is when you're literally walking barefoot could be in the grass, in sand. So I've literally been doing that every day, going to the beach, walking on the beach, by the shore. The beaches here are phenomenal. They're so amazing. They're so beautiful. Um, and I even went to was it a lagoon, Lagoa de Albufeira, which is just about an hour from here. Beautiful place. And what I do is because the diet here, the food here is just such high quality. I mean, Portugal is well known for example, for their orange juice, and the orange juice here is the best in the world. I'm telling you, if you come to Portugal, have one of these every day, and yeah, it's amazing. Obviously, the sun, all of that, it helps me, and I guess anybody who takes the time or has the luxury of being able to do this, to just completely reset. And that's exactly what I've experienced. It's amazing what can happen in under 2 weeks from a physiological point of view.
100%. Awesome. Well, Rodrigo, a lot of traders have a goal of getting funded, right? And I know you have a lot of personal experience with this. You also have a lot of experience coaching traders and helping them get funded. Now, my question to you is, what are the biggest obstacles you've seen stop traders from getting funded?
Um, that's a really good question. And the first thing I do when I'm working with traders, because obviously I do coach traders, and part of the coaching also is to lead them towards profitable and sustainable funded trading. Um, and so what happens is most traders, they have really high expectations, and traders, I guess, as humans, it's really easy to confuse high expectations with high ambition. And so the first thing I do is I work with when I work with a trader, I want to look at what their ambitions are, but I also want to look at what their expectations are. And what tends to happen is that the traders tend to have these high expectations of of what they want to achieve in life, and then they mix that in with their trading. And that's something that I experienced when I was I guess working towards and developing myself as an entrepreneur. Because you I guess with an entrepreneur, it's all about, work hard, play hard, and you grinding every day. But with trading, it's not like that. Because if you're grinding and you're doing 10 hours in front of the charts, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to self-sabotage. So having these high expectations, these monetary, especially monetary high expectations, I think traders need to understand, be aware of what their expectations are, and remove expectations from the market. Because that market, you're dealing with an uncertain environment. Anything can happen at any moment, and you can and any the best strategies in the world are going to lose trades. And if you're not managing your risk management properly, your position sizing, you're going to get hurt, you're going to get burnt. So I think traders, if you make a list of all of your high expectations that you have in about your life, what you want to achieve, everything. Like write it all down. When when you're trading, when those high expectations come into mind, especially when you're winning trades during the winning streak, or and you think, right, I'm gonna have this nice car, I'm gonna buy my wife this, I'm gonna buy my mom a house, I'm gonna retire my parents, you have all these thoughts, and it's natural, right? That's when you have those thoughts, those high expectations, just be aware of them. Don't identify with them, because if you identify with it, you're going to self-sabotage. You're going to start. That's when you become blind with overconfidence, or
Mhm.
the other way, when you don't reach those expectations, when you have a losing streak, or a big losing day, or a big losing week,
Mhm.
you tend to self-sabotage even worse, because your expectations are not being met. The market is not giving you what you want, your desire, your expectation. That's not what you should be. That's not how a trader should be thinking, because that's going to land you in trouble.
Mhm.
So expectations, traders need to be aware of that. The other thing that I think that are, I guess, a big obstacle for funded traders, and they really need to do their research, is what funded firm that they are getting funded with, because a lot of these firms are, they're in the business to make profit, right? But when you actually look at their business model is based on traders failing, right? They're profiting from traders failing their evaluation and repeating these demo accounts, right? Because that's what they're getting. It's not live trading. And so if you fail, they don't lose anything. They actually gain from that. And so if you're given a very short period of time to pass an evaluation, what tends to happen is you actually it promotes a gambling mindset, because you need to make money quickly, right? And
Mhm.
so most of the time, when traders actually pass the evaluation phase or verification stages for these firms, they have this momentum, this rush, and so when they actually do get funded, guess what? They're treating it as if they got 30 days. They've got, it's not even 30 days, it's 21 trading days, because obviously you can't really trade weekends with some of the firms unless they allow crypto trading on weekends. But some firms don't even let you hold trades over the weekend, so it's actually 20 days. And
Mhm.
so imagine trying to be a profitable trader that has a sustainable process, that wants to achieve financial freedom over the long term, create multi-generational wealth, but they're thinking in 20 days. They're thinking they need to get this done in 20 days. What do you think they're going to do with their risk management?
Mhm.
you know, it, it's
Yeah.
just like, it's a cocktail for disaster, honestly. So those, I guess these I guess these are the two things, the biggest obstacles I think right now that are stopping traders from getting funded and and sustaining profitability.
Very, very insightful. Now, let's imagine you had a trader come up to you, Rodrigo, like I'm sure you do on a daily basis, and they wanted to know your top 3 tips to getting funded. Top 3 tips, the highest priority tips or tricks you can give a trader to get funded. What would they be?
Right. So when when I first start working with a trader, the first thing I start to work with them is their process. And that is their process not just within trading, but outside of trading. So their processes, their routines, and their habits. I get into the details of literally what are they putting in their body, what are they eating, how much time are they actually spending with other people that are just not going to help them achieve their goals. What time are they getting to bed? How much actual quality sleep are they getting? And so first of all, I work on that process, the habits and routines, in order to encourage and promote a disciplined trader mindset, because that's what it's about. It's about sustaining that mindset. um, the other thing I would say is, the first thing I also do, which happens anyway, as soon as I start working with a trader, I'm already surrounding them with um, experienced traders and mentors to help them. So if you're a trader who wants to succeed, you need to surround yourself with experienced traders and mentors, people who've been there, people who have made the mistakes, traders who have the experience in trading different market conditions. Because it's all well and good being able to trade during a bull run, but do you know how to trade in the bear market? Do you know how to trade it when the market is consolidating? And so in the beginning, you're not going to have that experience. So surround yourself with those who do. That's the mistake that I made at the beginning. That's why it took me so many years to actually um, to get it right, to have a good process. I did it, I guess. That's that, and so that's why I try to encourage traders. So as soon as they start working with me, I'm already surrounding them with my team.
Mhm.
So we've got expert technical analysts, senior coaches that understand the mindset. We've got senior coaches who are experts at back testing. They can literally, one of our coaches, Diego, is actually my cousin. He's like the reverse engineering expert. He can look at one strategy or look at one chart and he'll be able to reverse engineer the strategy. He's such a good technician on the charts. So when you surround yourself with these traders and you're trying to understand your strategy, these having that help is so important. And the other thing that I think that I work with traders is I do educate traders. I think traders need to educate themselves on different market conditions. um, and the market is just is so vast, right? I would say every single pair, that if you're a forex trader, every single pair is its own market.
Mhm.
Every single, you have the forex market, but the pair itself is a market,
Mhm.
right? It has its own market participants. And so I think it's very important to understand that particular market, that one pair, that just choose one pair and understand that pair in its different market conditions. Because the market, it has it, I like to I always like to compare the market with, I guess, different habitats and ecosystems in the world. So I like to compare trading and the market with nature. So for example, I would say like the forex market is similar to the Amazon rainforest, right? Because in the Amazon rainforest, if you don't have the right mindset, the survival mindset, you're gonna die. You're gonna last a few days and you will die. If you don't have the right tools and equipment and know how to use those tools and how to survive, you're gonna die. Literally, within a few days, if not a few hours, you're not gonna survive because everything in the jungle is out there and wants you dead. And that's the reality, right? Even the most experienced survival experts, the risk of death is extremely high if if they're in the jungle without any sort of civilization around them, right? It's a deadly environment, and so is the forex market. If you don't have the right mindset, the right tools, and know how to use those tools in the market, your account balance is what all the market participants in that market, the ones that have been trading for decades, the ones with the most expensive equipment and all of the data, and they have faster machines than you. They've got HFTs, all sorts of tools in their arsenal that are designed to extract your account balance. so so traders don't really understand that. And so what the point I was trying to make is that you need to understand the different market conditions of your particular market, and that's something that I like to also teach when I work with traders.
Mhm.
Um, that's so I would say those are the three tips that's the first three things that I would do is when I'm working with traders is the process, habits, routines, surrounding yourself with expert traders and experienced mentors, and understanding the different market conditions of the market that you're trading and becoming an expert at that before you decide to actually, fully go in on it. Those are the three things I would say.
Love that. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, you set a goal, Rodrigo, as a trader or in life in general, you have family goals, relationship goals, health goals, you've got trading goals. You set that intention, but everybody out there knows that there's work that needs to go into um, uh, making that a reality, right? So I would love to get some insight on your routines, your processes, your habits, and just the day-to-day actions that you take to help you build momentum towards your goals and achieving what it is you would love to achieve.
That's a really important question, and I think that traders they need to really understand this process. And so it took me a long time. It took me quite a few years to develop how I work towards my goals. And for those, I guess when I tell people this that are not really, they're not entrepreneurs, they're not traders, and they see this as a little bit extreme OTT, and it's just like very regimented. But that's what you need to be, right? So for me, the way I deal with things is kind of like similar to an Olympian. And so you got the Japan Olympics happening right now, and you see there's world records being broken, and there's these individuals that have been doing it for decades, and then just when you see the final, it's like the iceberg effect. Everybody
Mhm.
sees the overnight success. Nobody sees all the work that goes down behind it. And I guess the way I go about things is not something that I came up myself. I've read so many books on, and I would every book that I read, I feel as if the authors themselves are my mentors. I always hear their voices when I do things.
Mhm.
It's amazing, especially when you follow them on YouTube. So I guess some of your followers eventually will be listening to you so much that they're going to hear your voice, and some of your students are going to hear your voice when they make those mistakes, and that's what you want, right?
Mhm.
But so for me, one book that really changed things for me was a book called Getting Things Done by David Allen.
Okay.
That he's got a technique. So the getting things done method, it's all about capturing all the information that you need and putting it into separate buckets. And so I've used that method and I've customized it in a more simplistic manner. And one thing that he does also encourage is to review every single week. So once I organize everything, I review it every week. But my actual process, my routine actually begins in the evening.
Mhm.
So in the beginning, most people they think, right, let me start in the morning, but in fact, that's too late. If you're starting your routine and your process in the morning, that's too late. You need to start the night before. Why? Because the night before, the evening before, what I do is um, I gather all the information, so all of everything that I need to do the next day. I gather that and I organize it. I
Mhm.
also review everything that I done during the day. So I would review the tasks that I completed as well as any trades. So I just review or finish off the journal if there's anything I need to finish off of my, and I also review any potential setups that I've planned for the following day. So if I'm in a trade and I'm managing that trade, I might then plan or a scaling in plan or scaling out depending on the setup. So I would review that in the evening and just set my alert so I'm ready the next day.
Mhm.
I would have all the important tasks. So anything, the first things that I'm dealing with the next day, I have it all planned out, and then I'm ensuring that I actually spend some quality time with my family, with my wife, with my daughter. And I literally I had to buy two phones, one for business, one for personal. And my business phone, where I get all of the messages, all my students, all my trading, all my charts, all of that stuff, I put it away because otherwise, if it's next to me, if it's in my pocket, I'm gonna check it,
Mhm.
and that's not fair on my daughter, it's not fair on my wife. And so I do my absolute best to be engaging with them because I know how important it is. And in fact, when I do that, I get this sense of fulfillment because that's what life is about, isn't it? It's about spending quality time with with your loved ones, and that's what trading should be about, isn't it? Having that freedom to actually spend quality time with your family. So
Mhm.
um, that's something that I do in the evenings, and it just makes me feel good. It does reset me, and it preps me up. I go to bed nice and happy. I get my good quality sleep. And when I start the day around 4 5 a.m. nice and early before the sun comes out, and I spend my time on my purpose. And so everybody has a different why, a different purpose in their life, but I spend anything between 5 to 15 minutes in worship, in prayer, and that just it just puts me in a state of peace. And so for me, reaching that state, sometimes it takes me 5 minutes, sometimes it takes me 20 minutes. It just depends, right?
Mhm.
But it's really important for me. And so once I've achieved that, obviously I'm hydrated, I'm ready to go. I'm in the gym by 6 in the morning. and I meet up with my gym buddy, so I have that accountability as well. Because there's times when I wake up and I don't feel like working out because I know my gym partners or my buddies are there waiting. They're going to be waiting for me. I turn up even when I don't feel like it. They do the same. Sometimes they don't feel like it, but you need that accountability. And so we spend the next 2 hours just training hard. We're doing calisthenics, mobility. Sometimes we do yoga, and then we have this meditation practice, like this sort of that we do together. Sometimes we actually meditate in the sauna for a good 10 minutes, and then this just really it sets us up really well. We also do intermittent fasting, so
Hmm.
um, part of my morning routine, when I get after the workout routine, when I get home, is taking my vitamins and my supplements. At the moment, when I'm doing intermittent fasting, I'm also supplementing with interstellar blends.
Hmm.
If you guys have not heard about it, Google this guy called Gavin. He's an absolute genius. It's all natural herbs. He blends them together it's like rocket fuel for your brain. It's unbelievable. Anti-aging, anti-cancer, all these things, and then literally you just feel for a good 5 6 hours you're just on rocket fuel, and that sets me up. So the first thing I do in the morning is a technique that I picked up from one of my mentors, Rob Moore. He's a UK entrepreneur. He's a really he's a sick guy. Honestly, the guy's got some crazy energy. But this method is in his book called Money. It's called Money. So more money, more freedom, something like that. But this in his book, he talks about uh, when you start your day, you need to first of all leverage first, manage second, and do last. And so all of those important tasks that made the night before, the first thing that I focus on is leverage first. So leveraging other people's time in order for me to complete tasks. So that means that working with uh, building and working with other team members. So I'm a project lead in many different projects, and so as well as my trading, as well as my coaching, right? And so I need to ensure that all of those are getting done, even outside of trading and outside of what I do with CTI. There's other projects that I do and other teams that I am also part of, and so leveraging other people's time is so important because you can, instead of doing everything yourself, you are then I guess delegating.
Hmm.
And once you delegate these things, you can have 4 or 5 people doing or towards working in the same project and getting things done at the same time simultaneously. And that's amazing, especially when you can work with people remotely from all around the world. It's like whilst I'm sleeping, there's one of my team members is working, and so by the time I wake up, a video might be completed, or some social media posts might be ready that I then need to manage second. So managing second is you're managing the projects, so making sure everyone knows what they're doing and you know what you're doing, and you just kind of checking the projects. And then do last is the tasks, the urgent and important tasks that only you can do,
Hmm.
right? And these are the tasks that are going to generate you the most income. So as a trader, you have to have this sort of I guess entrepreneurial investment mindset as well, which is another conversation. But the investor mindset, the entrepreneur mindset, and the trader mindset are 3 different things, but you need to be able to switch between the three, because think it's important as a trader to have multiple streams of income, because it's going to relieve relieve you of the pressure of trying to make money from your trading, from your profits, and so you don't want that in your trading. And so that's just my morning. By the time I actually get to the charts, we're talking mid morning, um, and I would have a 15 to 45 minute break. So then when I'm out of that sort of entrepreneurial, I guess I'm more of an entrepreneur. So there is a difference between entrepreneur and intrapreneur, but I'm more of an entrepreneur. So I have a business within another business, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, and so what I then do is I have this 15 to 45 minute break where I reset myself. I'll do some movement, some mobility movement. I I'll probably, if I need another coffee, I might have another coffee or tea. I have more blends if I need to. I have a good stretch and a meditation. So very quick mindfulness practice where some deep breathing and just review some of my surroundings and just center myself before I get into the trading process. So I trade the US Open
Mm-hmm.
and up to the London close. Oh, and I forgot to mention actually, what I'm doing, the way I work and and I guess split my time, my work blocks throughout the entire day, even my just not just my projects but also with my trading. I use the Promodoro technique. So for those who are not aware of the Promodoro technique, is you split your day and your task in 25-minute blocks, and then you have 5-minute breaks. And so I've got my phone next to me, and I'm literally doing 25 minutes, 5-minute break, 25 minutes, 5-minute break. And that helps me, especially with my trading when I'm scalping, because when you're just too focused on the charts, sometimes you miss out on very important price action because you're tired, because you get this, you're just looking, staring at the chart for too long. And so you need these quick 5-minute breaks just to recenter yourself, check your trading plan, make sure that everything's in line, that you're following your process, and the trade is being managed. Most of the time, for me personally, I'm just ensuring that all my alerts are set, all my levels, everything is set, and then I just leave the trade alone because I've got, I guess, I've automated the risk management essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, and there's a software that I use for that, and that's something that I also offer to. I also recommend that to my students
Mm-hmm.
because you want to try and also automate certain processes. So that kind of is like my routine from the evening to the morning to actual in the afternoon, because I live in the UK, so I'm trading between 1 o'clock up to about 5 o'clock. That's the time when I'm going in. And most of the time, I'm usually already in a trade by 2 or 3 o'clock. So then that's when I'll actually break my fast. I'll have a light meal, some salad, and for me, intermittent fasting is really important, an important part of my routine,
Mm-hmm.
because being in ketosis actually helps me have better longer endurance, better focus. As soon as I start eating and I start digesting, all of those calories that I'm burning in digesting, you get this sort of like after lunch effects. You know, you're a little bit sleepy. I don't want that when I'm trading. You really don't want to be feeling I guess your performance and your focus goes down. So yeah, that I'm kind of giving you like both the big outlook and little details of my process. Is quite detailed, but for me personally, this is, like I said in the beginning, years of practice and developing, and I haven't even gone through everything yet. I, I guess on a Friday is a little bit different, because Fridays is the time I use to actually review all of the trades, all of my projects. That's if I don't do it on a Friday evening, then I'll do it on a Sunday, where I do my ASR, I review my projects, and I'm making sure that everything in the week is all planned. I do most of my fundamental analysis on the weekend as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the days when I don't actually have, I don't see a clear setup, I am back testing. So during that afternoon, if I don't see anything clear, or if I'm managing a trade and and I and I and I don't have anything urgent, I'm back testing.
Mm-hmm.
Because back testing is like what Olympians do. It's what Olympians do with their training, right? You have to constantly be training in between competitions as an Olympian. Same thing as a trader. You have to be back testing and simulating uh, between live trades. And there's different simulation products out there that you could be using. I personally use forex tester, but there's soft forex, there's forex simulator. But I think simulation trading is really important, because you can go back at a certain market condition that you're not experienced in, and trade during that market condition in your particular market.
Mm-hmm.
And because if you trade the euro like I do, you need to be able to adapt to the euro if it's just trending, it's just moving right in one direction, or when it's very high volatility and the market is just ranging, right? It's just chopping everyone out. You need to understand these different market conditions and how the fundamentals and the macro outlook relate to that. So that's what I do with my simulation trading. And part of the program that I teach goes into detail on the macro, the medium, and the short term, and how you can put all that together to help you with any strategy that you trade.
Mm-hmm. A lot of value in there, Rodrigo. And I think people watching this, they could probably take one or two of those things and test it out in their own life. Because as you said, there's, that you didn't just start with that, right? That was an ongoing thing. You started somewhere and that started to develop. You started to add new things in, and you really found something that worked for you. But I think there's a lot of insights in there that the audience would get a lot of value from. So thank you. Now, this podcast, after all, is the Trading Mindset podcast. So would love to hear, either currently or in the past, what has been one of the biggest trading mindset challenges you faced, and I guess how you've tackled that particular challenge, how you went in there to overcome that challenge, and what sort of processes you put in place. I think this will give insights to the audience, first and foremost, to realize that no matter where you are in your trading journey, you're going to go through challenge, you're going to go through drawdown, you're going to have situations that we label negative, but also giving insights into how a more experienced trader deals with those and bounces back from those would be incredibly exciting and insightful. So,
yeah. So I actually touched on that earlier, and the biggest mindset challenge that I managed to overcome was my high expectations. So I came from I guess a background in when I was doing obviously sales and marketing, very competitive environment. And so you're kind of taught to just constantly be motivated, constantly push yourself, grind harder, just and have this sort of entrepreneur mindset and attitude on a daily basis where you don't take no for an answer. And so when I when I brought that, and I thought that that mindset was the right mindset for trading, and and that had a brutal effect on my performance for years, man. It just dragged me down because I had all these high expectations of what I wanted to achieve in my life. um like I didn't come from a wealthy background. I got working class parents, and my parents don't even own a property in the UK, for example. And it's just like I went to public schools. I never had all of the things that I guess middle class families will have. I was brought up in a council estate in London. Um, my life was in danger many occasions, so I came from this sort of background where I wanted to get out of all of that. I wanted to build something better for me and my future and my family as well. I wanted to get my family, I guess, out of the hoods, as they say. And I so with this entrepreneur mindset, I was trading, and I had put my desires on the market every single day. So every time I won trades, I was feeling great. I was getting closer to my dream. Every time I lost trades or going for a losing streak, that dream was being taken away from me. And so I was going through this extreme
oscillation.
volatility in my emotions. Oh yeah, exactly, this oscillation. I know you like to talk about this stuff. And so I was attached to my desires, like attached, emotionally attached to these expectations, because it's my life, it's my family, it's everything that I care about is being, I guess, taken away from me. And when I'm in a winning streak, I become blind with euphoria because that dream is getting closer. So I think, you know what, I've just won the last 3 trades. This trade looks amazing. I'm going to double my risk. And what happens? I give back all the profits that I worked really hard on the previous 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months. That happens a lot. Happens to traders. I know it happens a lot because I work with traders that this happens a lot. And so what I what I had to do is I realized that through a lot of journaling, and journaling is essential if you want to succeed in trading and you want to work on your mindset, because it allows you to spot patterns. And I started to notice these patterns, these thoughts, or these expectations when I was trading, and when I was disappointed when those expectations weren't being met, or where I was euphoric because these expectations were being met. And I realized that, hold on a minute, there's a problem here, because I'm getting way too excited, or I'm feeling way too frustrated. So what I decided to do is I decided to write down all of my high expectations, and every time they popped up in my mind, I just took a moment to pause, close my eyes, take a deep breath, and instead of looking at the floating profit, I'll look at my checklist. I'll look at my process. I'll see, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now? And so doing that, I actually started doing that in the back tests. So in the back tests, and the simulations, I was doing that practice. And so it reminds me of a practice of meditation itself. So in meditation, what's happening is you're focusing on one thing. That could be a mantra, or it could be your breath, or it could be the sounds that you're hearing around you, and you're sitting really still. And for me personally, I'm just focusing on the breath, how it feels with my the breath going in and out of my nostrils, how what the textures that I'm feeling are, that I'm clothed in, all of that
Getting very
kind of
present,
puts me
right?
into it puts me into this present state.
Mm.
And so that is very important to build that self-awareness. And so what I realized after a long time, and when I work with traders, and I realized that having high expectations can cause self-sabotage, but it doesn't mean you should not have high ambition, because
Mhm.
high ambition, it allows you, it promotes growth. And what is growth? Growth is learning from your failure. So ambition and growth is embracing failure, is seeing failure and losses as opportunities. And so when I shifted that, it was a complete transformation, because and I see that transformation happening with the traders that I work with. And I'm sure you've seen that as well, when traders, they shift their thinking away from the outcome and into the process. And so there is this, I guess, the more highly skilled you get at the self-awareness of your expectations whilst you're trading, it takes time, it takes practice, but the better you get at it, the more calm you are, the more neutral you are. You're in this state of equilibrium. This, I guess, I like to call it this 0 point state, this flow state, right? You don't have expectations. You're just kind of flowing with the market, with the pulse of the market. You're in sync with the market. And it's this is the feeling that I'm always, I guess, working towards. And because I know what that feels like when I'm in that zone. I know that's when I need to push. That's when I need to get into those trades. That's not the time to be hesitating.
Mhm.
That's the time when you see your signal, when you see your entry, that's the time to take it.
Mhm.
And so that was the biggest challenge for me, was my expectations, and how to separate my expectations with my ambitions, and then working on my ambitions through learning from my failures. And the way to learn from your failures is to identify what is causing you to make those mistakes, what is the source of it, what is the trigger, and what is your response to that trigger. When you understand this pattern in yourself from your journals, you create processes to eliminate, or I guess, if you can't eliminate feelings and emotions, but instead you reduce significantly the negative impact that they have on your trading. And that includes both joy, excitement, euphoria, and frustration, stress, anger, distress. Distress is literally, you're in this panic, flight or fight mode. You're thinking from your frontal lobe, your amygdala is like firing away, and you want revenge, you want your money back, or it's like, it happens. And that's the reality of trading. And so for me, that was the biggest, I guess, transition. uh, some some will call it paradigm shift.
Mhm. I'm going to encourage every single person to rewatch that particular response. I think it was incredibly powerful. It's also something I found work with hundreds of clients, that the thing that really trips them up is having unrealistic expectations on themselves or on the market, which pushes them into outcome-based thinking as opposed to process-based thinking. And the exercise you ran through there, Rodrigo, is super powerful, because we can't have expectations if we're truly present. Because if we're truly present, we're present with what's going on around us, and we're not projecting expectations. Expectations only come when we go into memory or imagination. which is past and future. So if you're present with your breath or with the clothing and that type of stuff, you won't have expectations. In fact, I saw this as such a big challenge that I opened this lesson up for free in my course so traders can get access to that particular understanding and insight to deal with the challenges they face. I really think that if traders took on board that particular lesson, your response to that as well, 80 to 90% of their trading mindset challenges will be resolved. So thank you for going into so much depth on that. Now, the biggest turning point in your trading, Rodrigo, be curious to hear. Every trader goes through, I guess, some level of a boom and bust, or they do incredibly well and then not so well. I'm incredibly curious to hear about the biggest turning point or the biggest turning points you've had in your trading journey that you think would make for some interesting shares.
Yeah, I think it's kind of summarizing what I've said earlier. And um, first of all, the biggest turning point for me was when I decided to just burn all bridges, burn all the bridges that have nothing, that are not going to push me towards achieving profitable, sustained profitable trading. Right? That's the goal, and that's the first thing, was just cutting those bridges. That was one of the first of all, the biggest turning point. Second would be, I think, being just using my emotions and feelings as data, as a signal to how I should be performing, and also as data so that I can review it later and spot the patterns. Because as a trader, we're in the business of recognizing patterns in the market, right? Everybody starts trading and they get just this tunnel vision on strategies, on these market patterns. And it's amazing when you can actually forecast it really accurately. You get these sniper entries. It's exhilarating, right? But that's just like a very, very small aspect of the entire process of being a profitable trader who can sustain that profitability over a long period. And so instead of, for me personally, yes, I do technical analysis. That is part of my process, but I also use those pattern recognition skills on myself. I look for patterns in what I am doing and how I respond to different market conditions. So how I respond to the way I manage my trades, the way I manage my own process, when I enter a trade, when I'm managing that trade, and when I exit that trade. What is my response to that? And because you would find that your mindset shifts when you're about to enter a trade, when you're managing a trade, and when you exit a trade. There is actually different processes and way of, and I guess signals that your emotions give you. And so for me, one of the biggest turning points was becoming hypersensitive to these shifts in thinking and emotions at different stages of the entire process of a trader. And this is what when I'm working with traders, I get them to, I kind of guide them towards, like, look at, um, you know, have a look at this part of your process. What do you think? Like, for example, I was been working with a trader who joined our mastermind program recently, and he I asked him to, part of one of the homeworks that we give is to record yourself whilst you're simulating your trading, right? So that's what he done. Did about 29-minute video. I watched it when I got home whilst I was on holiday. It's just, I know I'm supposed to be on holiday, but I wanted to. I was really intrigued by what he was doing, and there's something that I picked up. Something that he said was so subtle that he didn't even realize it until I told him, "Look, have a look at this." And I didn't say, "This is what I think." I said, "Have a look at this, and you tell me what you think about your response when you were in that trade, and the trade went in profit. What did you say? And then when the trade went back to your entry, what did you say? And what did you think about that?" When he did that, he had a transformation. I didn't tell him what I thought. He himself realized what was happening on a subconscious level. His facial expressions. He even recognized his eyebrows when like that, as in he was disappointed in the fact that the trade went back to his entry. But you don't realize these things unless you're very hypersensitive. So one of the biggest turning points for me was sorry, let me just fix up. One of those the biggest turning points for me was that. So that is being hypersensitive to my feelings and my emotions. And to do that was when I discovered mindfulness, meditation, visualization. And so this is what I do on a daily basis. Even whilst I'm on holiday, I continue my meditation, my mindfulness practice, my affirmations, and visualizing things, because that is, most of the work that you're doing as a trader happens here. So
Mm-hmm.
if you constantly have to, I guess, sharpen the axe, as famously said in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Steve Covey, I believe. The seventh habit is to sharpen the axe or sharpen the saw, one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, is once you've achieved, um, I guess that I guess that success, and you have that momentum in place. The seventh habit is actually maintaining it. You
Mm-hmm.
constantly have to sharpen that axe, because if you don't do that, your axe is going to get rusted and you're not going to be able to chop down those trees. And that's the analogy here for trading. And so another turning point for me, I would say, was, I guess, yeah, it's my gratitude to Allah, to God. And so for me, being grateful on a daily basis for both everything that I have that's good in my life and everything that is bad in my life, having that gratitude to both the positive and the negative, for me, that was a huge turning point. And that's why I focus on my worship and my prayer every morning. And when I experience those losses, I instead of getting, I do get those negative responses. I do get the signal. I'm like, I feel that disappointment. I feel that frustration. I hear that negative self-talk. But then what do? I take 5 minutes out during my Pomodoro. I center myself and I give gratitude. I give thanks. And that is just like a bam. It just neutralizes me, centers me back in, and I don't emotionally attach myself. I don't let my mind, I guess that monkey mind, as the chimp paradox, where he talks about, I can't remember the author's name, about having that monkey mind. And so it's about, so mindfulness for me, and discovering it, and working, and applying that on a daily basis for myself, has been a huge turning point. And I know that it also works because other traders talk about it. I know you talk about it so much in your content and what you teach, and when we work together as well. I even had a transformation when we had that one-to-one,
Mm-hmm.
because you were talking about um, this concept of, I guess, neutralizing both the positive and the negative.
Mm-hmm.
When you experience something good, what is the bad things about feeling good? And then when you experience the bad, what are the good things about that bad? And
Mm-hmm.
that just kind of like brings you back to that center point, that 0 point, which is what I call that flow state. And so that's why I like to have these 25-minute work blocks, trade blocks, whatever you want to call them, and a 5-minute break to continue that sort of mind process. And so, yeah, those are the things that for me were the biggest turning points in my trading. And I didn't really mention anything to do with strategy. It's just pure mindset stuff.
Well, I think that brings the conversation full circle. You opened up talking about how important it is to work on yourself, and we're going to wrap up finishing up about how important it is to work on yourself. So I think that's my big takeaway from your answers and our discussion today, Rodrigo. That if you want to be in a performance state on the charts, you have to be taking care of yourself at the end of the day, because whatever you see on the charts is going to be a direct reflection of what's internal and who you are as a person. So. On behalf of the audience, Rodrigo, I want to thank you for coming on board and just sharing so much wisdom and so many insights. I have no doubt that the audience has gotten an incredible amount of value from your answers, your responses. And I'm going to leave links to your socials below so people can check you out as well. But before we wrap up today, is there any last messages or anything you would love to share with the audience? Maybe if you had your younger self, the one that just got into trading, listening, what is it you would say to them?
Well, yeah, firstly, I just want to thank you, Pat, for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to speak to you, to your audience. And I've actually, these type of conversations, I love it. It's just, I can talk for hours. I know we probably planned less time for this podcast, but I have so much fun with this.
Perfect. That's great.
And so firstly, yeah, I'm grateful for this opportunity. And if I'm speaking to my younger self, I would say to just educate yourself as much as possible. And one thing I would say is surround yourself with people who have the experience, and who are going to encourage you and give you that accountability on a daily basis. It's not every now and again, it's
Mhm.
every day. And those, and then you know who they are because they're leading by example. Those who lead by example, who have what you want and have got, and they have that sort of process in place. Surround yourself with those guys,
Mhm.
because they're gonna speed up the process for you. So that's what I would say to my younger self.
Incredible, man. Well, guys and girls listening as well, if you got value from this particular video, please share it with your friends and family in your trading circle. I'm sure they're going to get value from that as well. And give this video a like and subscribe, because there's going to be much more value coming through. This was quite a bit of a long interview. So what I'll probably do is I'll post the whole length interview, and then I'll cut up clips and I'll drop some value from some of those answers as well. There's an immense amount of value in there. So I'll be playing around with this interview and getting as much value out as I can. But again, Rodrigo, I want to thank you, and we will speak soon.
My pleasure. Thank you.